Hey there, this is Jessica from Well Lived, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Every Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. I post a brand new video where I show you how I am committed to living a life well lived. I truly believe that everything in this life for me, and there is not a space where I do not belong. And also I believe that there is no limit in the amount of things that I will try in this life. I don't know how much longer I have to live on this earth, but what I do know for sure is I'm gonna have a really good time, and I'm gonna bring you along with me. So how about we go ahead and get started, and welcome to my outdoor oasis. Today I am going to walk you through one of my favorite spaces at our house, and that is our screened-in porch. I want to kind of walk you around and show you some of my favorite things that I have picked up along the way to decorate this space, and then at the end of this video I'm going to show you how we turn this space into our own private movie theater. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you stick around for that. But first I thought we could go around, I can show you the space a little bit and give you a little bit of background about how this screened-in porch even came into existence. Back a couple of years ago when Mark and I first started dating, I would come over to hang out at his house, and more than likely we would end up on the back porch. And this is what it looked like. And while yes, it is functional, it checked off many boxes, there was an actual space for you to step out onto when you open up the doors that were connected to the kitchen. You didn't fall down 3 feet to a concrete floor. You actually had a space to stand on, to hang out on, and that was fine. There was actually coverage that he had on the porch that protected us from the sun and from the rain. There were storage options that he had available on the porch, and there were even steps that went down to a lower deck that had some pavers down there where he had another coverage space, and he had his motorcycles as well as his grills. So it was all very functional for him. But what it didn't have was something to protect me from mosquitoes, because I'm telling you, no matter where I am in the world, mosquitoes will find me. And we tried all of the things. We tried bug spray and those mosquito bracelets and spraying peppermint and the zappers. Like, we've tried it all and none of it worked. I would get bitten all of the time. And then the last thing that it didn't have, and sorry Mark, love you, mean it, it just wasn't pretty. And if you have watched any of my other videos where we're doing renovations throughout the house, my space needs to have functionality as well as it needs to be pretty. So as we continue to date, we started to talk about, you know, me possibly moving in with him. And if I did move in, what would be some of the things that we would like to change within the house that would make it feel refreshed and to make it feel like the both of us. And one of the things that I knew that I wanted was an outdoor oasis. With the majority of my adult life living in apartments, especially when I was living in New York City, I would always dream of having an outdoor space. So I knew that when I eventually moved into a house, that an outdoor space was really important to me. So with that information, I knew that I wanted a space here that I could spend outside, because I love being outside. I love being in nature. I just hate the bugs. And so we started talking about what this space could look like, and fast forward a year later, I moved in, and then later that summer we went ahead and decided to build this beautiful screened-in porch. By the time we started this project, we had already a couple of projects underneath our belt. So we already did my walk-in closet. We also did our shared office, which I promise I will be showing to you soon. And we also did our custom shelving and built-ins in our kitchen. So we were having a little bit of confidence in our skills, but still, we decided to hire out for this build. Now, when you're talking about a full-out build that has to go through the city, that has permits, that has to be up to code, that just was something that neither of us were confident that we could handle. And honestly, it was just kind of nice to just be able to hire somebody and kick our feet up and not have to lift a finger as this build was being constructed. So we reached out to several different contractors. Some of them had outrageous costs, and then we actually ended up finding a local guy who was kind of just breaking off and starting his business on his own, and he did a wonderful job. We literally had to do nothing. We just sat in the window. We would come outside and visit. I would take some videos, some pictures, and we literally did nothing. So then after he was finished, then we found a painter because we wanted to paint the space. The builder was here just to build out the framing. And so then we had to bring in a painter because that was, again, something that we could have done. We just didn't want to. So he painted everything, and so you can kind of see back here, he painted everything white to match the trim of our house, and then he stained all of our floors a very natural wood stain, and we absolutely love it. So once that was done, then it was time for me to come in and do what I love to do most, and that is decorate. So as I like to do with all of my spaces is I like to mix things up. I like to have some things that are new, some things that I have had in another life that I bring along with me, and then I love to fill in spaces with things that I find at thrift and vintage stores. And I'm about to show you my favorite, one of my favorite thrift finds ever. So one day when I was out thrifting at one of my favorite thrift stores here in Durham, North Carolina called Trosa, I walked in and the very first thing that I saw was this chair. And as soon as I saw it, I ran over there and snatched the tag off. And by snatching off the tag, it basically says #mine. Like nobody else can have it. I have the tag. You have no idea how much it is. There's no way that you can go ring it up because I have the tag. And so I didn't even know how much it cost, and actually I didn't even care how much it cost. I just knew that I needed this chair in this space. And so, but I did happen to look down to see how much it was. It was $59.99, which I was like, I don't even care, that sounds great, I just want it. And so I started to look around, still standing at the chair because no one was going to take it from me. I started to look around for a sales associate to see if they could help me. And so I found one, flagged him over and said, look, I want to buy this chair, but I don't have any space in my car for it. Is there any way that I can pay for it, and then maybe you guys can hold it for like an hour or so, and then I can go pick up the truck and come back and get it? And he was like, oh, it's no problem. He's like, I can just go ahead and make an invoice for you. I'll take it up to the front desk when you're ready to check out. Go ahead and pay for it, and then we'll hold the chair for you for up to 3 days. And so I was like, perfect. I want it. It's sold. Done. So I started to look around the store a little bit more, and that's when I called Mark, and I was like, hey love, how are you doing? And he was like, I'm fine. And I was like, so what are you up to? And he was like, I feel like you need something. And I said, well, I may or may not have purchased a chair, and I may or may not need you to bring the truck up to Trosa to pick it up and bring it home. And he was like, did you or did you not buy a chair? And I was like, I bought a chair. He was like, okay, I'm coming to pick it up. So he came over right then and picked up the chair, and we have it in this space, and I absolutely love it. Again, I didn't care how much it cost. I just loved like the structure of it. I loved how it looked. It looked very stately yet very warm. I loved the color. I just thought it was a nice pop of that cognac brown, and I had to have it. And luckily I am with someone who is just so freaking easygoing, and he was like, sure, I'll come and bring the truck up to you so you can have this ridiculous chair that you don't really need. He didn't say that to me, but I know that's what he's thinking. And so here it is, and I absolutely love it, and I think it is just perfect out here in this space. Another item that I purchased at the thrift store that day is this planter table that I have next to my now favorite chair, and I love it. I love that I'm able to just put a glass of water or a glass of wine, let's be honest, flowers, plants on top of it, and it just looks really nice over here next to this chair. This couch was definitely our investment piece. It was definitely more than either of us thought we wanted to spend on a couch, but once I saw it, I knew it was going to be the perfect piece for this space. I wanted something that really did look like an indoor couch, and I wanted to make sure that it had those 3 cushions instead of just one big long cushion, and I'm telling you, it is so very comfortable. I just absolutely love it. It has actually paid for itself because we sit on this thing literally every single day. I even nap on it. My sister was here visiting a couple of months ago and she napped on it. It's just a very, very comfortable couch, well worth the money. So this basket I got at the flea market for $3. I'll never forget it. But you know, you can see, like, I went ahead, I mean, the plastic little guys are in there, but you know, if you set them in this little basket there, it just kind of gives it just an updated look, and I really love that one. I also have this one on the side here. I believe I got this one at Trosa's, probably no more than a couple of dollars. But again, the little plastic guy is inside, so I can take it out and water the plants. But I also did get some tung oil for each of the baskets, and I just oiled those down and then let them dry for, I think it was for maybe 24 hours. And then once I did that, it really did protect the wicker and the rattan from all of the baskets that I have, and I honestly have not had any problems with molding or rotting or anything like that. So yeah, it's just an easy way to elevate your plants a little bit when you have them. Even I think that it would be really beautiful if you had some baskets like out on your front porch, maybe on the stairs going up to your house. It's just a very easy and cheap way. Like, I don't think the 3 baskets that I have out here came to $10. I got them all from the thrift store and the flea market, and so they're just very easy ways that you can elevate just some of the simplest things. So on to the movie theater. When we were planning out how we want to use this space, we knew that we wanted it to be an extension of our indoor space. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to watch TV out here. Now, our neighbors have a big, huge screen TV in their backyard that they keep out there year round. And while we definitely thought about that route, we actually ended up getting a movie screen that we have mounted on the wall, as well as a projector. We just knew that when we were finished watching whatever we were watching on the screen, that we wanted it to be able to be put away versus just staying out. We didn't want this big black box that was sitting out on our porch blocking all of this amazing view. So we went on to Amazon and we found this 100-inch movie screen, and it had amazing reviews, and we knew that it would be perfect to hang right here on the wall. When we want to watch something on the screen, we simply just pull the screen down. It's very easy to do, and then once we're done, it's easy just to tug it really quickly and it rolls right back up very easily. And what I love the most is that the white of the actual movie screen, or the outside of the movie screen, just kind of fades into the background, and I really love that because, again, it's just not an eyesore. When you walk out here, the movie screen is not the first thing that you see, and I really do love that. So for our projector, we purchased this Bluetooth one from Amazon, and it is perfect. Essentially what you do is you just plug in your phone into the projector, and basically whatever is on your screen gets projected up to the movie screen. So you can watch live TV, you can stream on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, wherever. You can actually watch football games, which is really fun out here. I absolutely love it, and I think for the cost it is a really perfect option for an outdoor movie screen or for a movie projector. I do want to mention that this projector does come with its own screen, but there is something to say about that. It is kind of flimsy, and unfortunately it has like little holes on each corner of the screen, so you have to like either nail that or mount that to the wall. And so basically wherever you have your screen, you're just gonna always have it there. It's always gonna be up. It's not gonna roll up like the one that I showed you. And then also it's just not a great option to watch movies or TV or whatever you're gonna watch on your screen during the day. With the one that we have, it has a black opaque backing that just allows you to be able to watch whatever you want to watch during the day, and it gives you like a really nice picture. But with the one that comes with the projector, not so much. So if you're going to invest in this projector and really want to have a great outdoor experience, I really suggest you getting that screen that I just showed you. And then the projector itself has speakers. However, Mark loves to have that surround sound experience, and I'm not gonna lie, I do too. And so what we did was we also invested in a couple of these JBL speakers that are wonderful. So what we do is that we just Bluetooth everything together. So we have our phone connected into the projector, and then we have 2 of these speakers that we place around this space. And when we were playing a movie, it honestly feels like you're at a movie theater, because you definitely have that surround sound going on with this. Is this an absolute must? No, but if you really want to like have that very cool movie theater, I would suggest getting these or something similar. It doesn't have to be these, but just a speaker that you can Bluetooth into the projector. So when we started to first watch TV out here, we didn't have any place to put our projector, and so we would pull over one of these chairs. We would then like set a box on top, and then maybe a couple of books on top of that, and then maybe a planter on top of that to get it to the height that we needed in order to project it over onto our screen. And so we kind of started to think about like, what are we going to do with this projector, because this whole like setup of putting things on a chair and like balancing boxes and stuff isn't working. And so we had thought about mounting it up on the ceiling, but we also want to mount a ceiling fan up there, and we were just worried that once that ceiling fan is up there, we thought that maybe the projector would get in the way. And so, and then also it would just be another eyesore that's just hanging down from the ceiling, and I didn't want that. So one Saturday, Mark and I were sitting out here on the deck or on the porch, and I was like, I know. And of course he's probably like, oh God, here we go. Anytime she says I know, that means there's work involved. But I said, what if we built our own storage cabinet, and that way we could put the projector inside of this storage cabinet along with all of this other stuff that's just hanging around here that doesn't have a space to live, like our candles and games and blankets and bug spray and lighters, and all of those things would have one central place where it would be stored. And I was like, we have already built cabinets in our office. We had just finished doing cabinets indoors in the kitchen, so this project should be pretty easy. And so what we did was took out a piece of paper like we always do, and I started to sketch out what it could potentially look like. And I didn't want anything super fancy, I wanted it to be simple, but like I mentioned with the tables and the chairs that we have here in this space, I wanted a piece of furniture. And yes, I kind of got rid of those plastic ones that he had here before. We both agreed on that. And we just decided that having a piece of furniture out here would just be kind of amazing. And so what we did was, again, took out the piece of paper, I sketched out some ideas, and then we started to put some measurements to the idea that we both agreed on. And what we did actually is we took the projector and we like put it up in the air, turned it on, had the screen down, so we knew exactly where the projector needed to be. Because not only was this storage unit going to store the projector when we didn't need it, we were actually going to use the top of the cabinet to place the projector on. Genius, right? When we wanted to use it. And then another idea that came up is, what if we put wheels on this cabinet? So therefore, when we don't need it, it's just like in its own little space. The cabinet is in its space, it looks beautiful, has beautiful little decor stuff on top. But then when it's movie night, we can just simply roll the cabinet behind the couch and take out the projector, put that on top, and we can very easily hook everything up and start our movie. And then he was like, okay, I'm in. This sounds pretty cool, but still wasn't quite convinced that we could actually do it. But I knew that we could. I knew that we had already built a box. I mean, how easy is it to build a box? You got two sides, you got a top and a bottom. And then from there, you needed to put on a back, put on some shelves, put on the doors. We already knew how to do the doors because we just finished them in the kitchen. We knew how to go ahead and put on the hinges. In fact, we had hinges left over from the last project. We had the hinge jig. Really all we needed was measurements. And so once we got all of the measurements together, from there we knew exactly how many pieces of wood we needed and what size they needed to be. So guess what? Off to Home Depot we went. We went to Home Depot, we had our piece of paper, we went and got our very expensive wood, because this was at the time when wood was just skyrocketing through the roof. But we knew that even though it was expensive, it would have been cheaper for us to make it and quicker for us to get it than purchasing one brand new. So we found the guy, and the beauty of going to a place like Home Depot or Lowe's is that once you have the measurements, they'll cut the wood for you. So we really went step by step. We were like, okay, the sides need to be, this dimension by this dimension. And he would take the piece of wood and he would cut it for us. We would take the piece of wood, put it onto our cart, check it off of our list, and then we would give him the measurements for the next set of wood. And we went back and forth like that until basically it was all done. And so we then took the wood to the register, paid for it, brought it home, and we really started that day. It was super easy, just because everything was already cut. Really the only thing that we had to do was just put it together. Home Depot did the hard part with actually like cutting it to perfection, and the only thing that we had to do was just kind of screw it all together. So this is how we did it. Using a pocket jig that we already had from previous projects, we went ahead and drilled holes into each of the pieces of wood that we have. By having the pocket jig, it allows you to install your screws in at an angle, which gives you just a very secure joint to your wood. If you would put that screw in just straight, there's the possibility of those side pieces of wood collapsing either out or inwards. And so by being able to use that pocket jig and to screw in the screw at an angle, it just gives you a better secure connection, and it makes sure that your piece of furniture is rock solid. For all projects that you are working on, especially when you're using wood, please do not skip the step of using wood glue. anytime that you are trying to put two pieces of wood together, before you screw anything in, please just put a nice spread of wood glue on the edges of your wood and then go ahead and put your screws in. Sometimes we forget about that, and so we have to take the screws out, put on a nice layer of wood glue, and then put the screws back in. But I'm telling you, this is not a step that you want to skip on. By adding that wood glue along with the screws to your wood pieces is just going to make for a really solid connection. So once all of our pieces were put together, we now had a nice perfect box, and from there it was time to go ahead and put the back of the cabinet onto the box. Now remember when I said that I measured everything appropriately and then we took it to Home Depot and they cut it for us and we brought it home and all we have to do is put it together? Well, I made a mistake. When I was thinking about the back of the cabinet, I thought that the back of the cabinet was going to fit inside of the cabinet versus sitting outside of the cabinet. And because it was sitting on the outside of the cabinet, it was a little too small and a little too short. So what I had to do was think about what we wanted to do. Did we want to go buy yet another very expensive piece of wood and have it recut? Or did we want to try to make it work? And so I went for door number 2 and tried to make it work. And so we had some leftover wood from some other projects that we were working on, and we just cut a nice little thin piece and placed it in the area that was just a little too short. And actually, instead of that space being at the top of the back of the cabinet, we put it at the bottom. And honestly, when I show you the cabinet, I don't think that you would be able to see it or even know that it was there if I didn't tell you it was there. So yeah, I made a little bit of a mistake. I just forgot to calculate the top piece and the bottom piece of the cabinet, and so I ended up with something that was just a little imperfect, but honestly, it doesn't matter. No one's gonna see it. No one's gonna care. So once the back of the cabinet and that little small piece was added, we then went ahead and installed the wheels to the bottom of the cabinet. And then once we did that, we basically had a pretty solid box foundation that we could go ahead and now start to add in our shelves. So what we did was we took back out that pocket jig and we drilled in the holes on each side, on each end of the shelves, as well as the back that would be attached to the back of the cabinet. And so we went ahead and drilled those holes in there. And then once those were drilled, we went ahead and screwed them. We went ahead and glued the edges, and then we screwed in the shelves inside of the cabinet. And already, I just already could see, like, this is gonna be amazing. This is exactly what we were hoping for. So then next we added on the top boards as well as the bottom boards, and because I just wanted it to be very simple and minimal, the only place that I decided to add trim was to the very top board of the cabinet. I had thought about adding maybe some detail to the front of the doors or maybe to the side of the cabinet, but at that time and for now, I think I really just love the simplicity of just having that little bit of trim at the very top of our cabinet. So then once all of that was done, it was time to sand, and we took the time to just sand everything down because we really wanted every surface of the cabinet to be nice and smooth and just ready for staining. And so once everything was nice and smooth, including the doors, we went ahead and started to drill in the spaces that we needed to add the hinges. And again, because we already purchased the hinge jig for the project that we worked on in the kitchen, this was a very simple process for us. Basically, we knew that we wanted to add 3 hinges to each of the doors, and once we knew kind of where we wanted those hinges to be based on where the shelves were, because we wanted to make sure that the hinges didn't butt up against the shelf, then we went ahead and used the jig and drilled those holes, inserted the the hinges into the door, and then now finally everything was ready to stain. And what we did do is we decided to not install the doors onto the cabinet, just because we wanted to stain the cabinet and the doors separately, allow each of those things to have its time to dry on its own, and then disassemble everything together at the very end. So then we started to stain, and we put about 2 to 3 coats of stain on our cabinet, just because we wanted the wood to be really nice and saturated, and we wanted the color to be a little darker. And then also we put on a lot of polyurethane, just because we knew that it was going to be outside. We really wanted it to be protected from the weather. So what we did was we put on a coat of poly, allowed it to dry for like 24 hours, lightly sanded it, put on another coat of poly, allow that to dry, sanded it, poly, dry, sand, repeat. We did that for about 4 or 5 times, only because we really wanted this piece to be protected. And I'm telling you, we have not had one issue in terms of it warping and molding. Actually, when it rains, the water just beads right up onto the cabinet, and we wipe it off and it's perfect. So even though it was a pain and it did take several days for us to get the poly right, it was worth that step, because it really is protected out here. I never have to worry about it. So once everything was polyed, everything was dried and ready to go, I actually ended up remembering that I had these doorknobs left over from my closet dresser. I had 2 of them left over, and so I went ahead and decided, let's just go ahead and use these. I wasn't sure we were going to use anyway, but I just loved having these vintage knobs already, something we didn't have to go purchase. So we drilled in the holes and put in the doorknobs, and we were done. So how about enough of this talking, and I show you guys this amazing cabinet that Mark and I built ourselves. All right, so let's see what is inside. So again, we have our projector here, we have our speaker, we have the remote for the projector, we have our fly swatters here, and then on the other side we have some extra blankets that we like to use when it's a little cooler outside. And then I placed some baskets down below on this shelf, and this one just stores all of our bug spray. Again, this is screened in, so we don't need the bug spray in here, but then when we go out onto the deck or into the garden, we have this place here to just go ahead and spray ourselves before we go outside. And then here is where I keep a lot of my candles. I love lighting candles out here. I get that from my mother. And here we have our lighters, just so that we always have something out here, instead of like, Mark, where's the lighter? I need a lighter. Can you bring me a lighter? We always have them out here, and I do love that. And then on this bottom shelf, we just have some extra pillows. We have an extra rug. I have some cafe lights here that eventually I want to hang. I have this amazing table fireplace that my mom got me, and we're gonna actually pull that out tonight for our movie. And then just a bunch of little knickknacks that we have here. Again, it's just giving all of these things that were just sitting out and didn't really have a place to live and be out of the way. This cabinet has definitely helped that. And I love that we have it. I love that it's functional. I love that it's pretty. And I love that we made it ourselves. All right, so it's still a little early for us to start our movie. We really wanted to watch it this evening when it gets a little bit darker outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. It is blazing hot out here. And then when I come back, I'm gonna show you guys how I make my very delicious pan sheet nachos that we're gonna have for dinner tonight as we're watching our movie. And so I'm gonna take you through a step-by-step process of how I make those. We'll get those plated, get everything set up out here for our movie, and then we'll get the party started. So I will see you guys in a bit. now that the meat is done, I'm gonna go ahead, assemble the nachos and get those into the oven so that they can get all nice and melty and gooey and ready for us to eat. And then while those are in the oven, I'm gonna go outside and set everything up. All right, so let me show you how I put together the nachos. So after I do one layer of cheese, then I do the meat, then I use these black beans, which are the best. If you see these, they sell them at Whole Foods. They also sell them at Target. They are the absolute best. They already come seasoned and they're really good right out of the bag. You don't have to do anything. So anytime that I'm making any sort of Mexican meal, I always use these. Not sponsored, just really, really good. And now I'll put these in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes. And you just want to watch it just until the cheese gets nice and bubbly and starts to brown. That's when I typically take it out. So I'm gonna go ahead, put these in the oven, and then I'm gonna go outside and get set up. You guys could smell it in here. It smells amazing. And I think they are just about ready. So let's go ahead, check them out, and then we'll go ahead and assemble them. Yeah, those are looking good. I think it's time to come out. So here we go. So I have some tomatoes that actually came from our garden, have some cilantro, some green onion, some lettuce, and then we have sour cream, some taco sauce, and some Cholula, which if you have not tried this, it is excellent. So I'll go ahead and sprinkle some of that on top, and then we'll plate them up. Delicious, huh? All right, I'm gonna take these outside and let's eat. Believe that Mark has never seen this movie, so I actually thought that it would be a good idea to wait and watch this movie after we got off of our cruise. So this is what we're watching today. For those on my newsletter, if you guessed Titanic, you guessed correctly.
I already know the ending, but I'm gonna watch it anyway.
13 meters, you should.
So good. Oh my god. What do you think about the nachos?
They are delicious, especially with the fresh tomatoes right out of our garden. Excellent, excellent.
He's so silly. I mean, honestly, it doesn't get better. Nachos, a movie, candles, wine, just a really great evening, and it's just so cool that we can have this outdoor space at our home. So what I hope for you is that you can also create this spaces. It doesn't have to be as grand as our back porch, but just create even just a small space in your house that you can consider it to be special, where you can have these moments and evenings like we're doing tonight. So with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you next week. Bye.
My granddaughter Lizzie.